Hello and welcome to the Death Row and Executions channel. My name is Paco Rivera. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates and more Death Row news. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Also check out my other channel, The Maximum Sentence, where I cover recent crimes and convictions. There will also be a link for that. In 1993, 23-year-old Richard Djerf was working at a Safeway supermarket overnight doing custodial work after hours, mostly cleaning and other chores. He worked alongside another custodian named Albert Luna Jr., who was 21 years old. Even though Djerf had been considered a loner much of his life, both Djerf and Albert had become good friends and even visited each other's homes. Albert Jr. lived at home with his parents, Albert Sr., and his mom, Patricia, a younger sister named Rochelle, who was 18 years old, and a little brother named Damien, who was only 5 years old. One day, Richard Djerf arrived home during the summer of '93 and saw that his apartment had been burglarized. A television, a VCR, stereo equipment, and an AK-47 assault rifle were all stolen. And there was no doubt at all in Djerf's mind about who had robbed him. After all, Albert Luna Jr. was a known thief and burglar. Albert's employers at an Abco supermarket learned a year earlier, in January of 1992, that while working for them as a night custodian, he had stolen, during several months, over $8,000 in merchandise and cash that included 60 cases of beer, 90 cartons of cigarettes, and 96 bottles of liquor. And Albert Luna was charged. In March of that year, 1992, he was sentenced to 4 months of probation and ordered to pay the store $8,100. Then, in August of that year, Albert was arrested again when he was caught by police trying to break into a hair salon through air vents on the roof of the building. And this time, he was sentenced to 4 months in jail and 3 years probation. So, when Richard Djerf saw that all the stuff in his apartment was missing, he was convinced that it was his supposed friend, Albert Luna Jr. So Djerf called police to report it. They responded and completed the report. While Djerf was waiting for an arrest of Albert Jr. to be made and hopefully have some of his stolen property recovered, the months were going by, and he wasn't hearing anything from police. One would think it would have been taken a bit more seriously since one of the stolen items was an AK-47 assault rifle. Anyway, Djerf was so angry that he decided to buy some flowers to deliver to the Luna family's home. Why flowers? My personal guess is that he had been accusing his co-worker, the oldest child of the Luna family, of stealing his stuff, and the flowers would make it look like he was going there to apologize and say that he was wrong, that he was mistaken. And sure enough, when Djerf arrived at the Luna home late on the morning of September 14, 1993, Patricia Luna, Albert Jr.'s mom, saw him with flowers outside and opened the door for him. Patricia at the time was home alone with her 5-year-old son, Damien. After Patricia opened the door, Djerf pointed a 9mm Beretta handgun at her and forced his way inside. Djerf then held little Damien at gunpoint and forced Patricia to begin loading all kinds of household items, electronics, and other valuables into the family's car. A car that Djerf also intends on stealing when he's done at the house. He also kept asking, "Where is Albert Jr.?" or "When is he coming home?" But Patricia did not know. After Patricia was done loading everything into the car to Djerf's satisfaction, he tied both Patricia and her little son Damien to chairs in the kitchen using rope and electrical tape. At about 3 o'clock that afternoon, the Luna's oldest daughter, Rochelle, who was 18, arrived home from school. At knife point, Djerf forced her into a bedroom where he tied her up to a bed and gagged her with tissue paper and tape. He then used the knife to cut off her clothing and brutally violated her. He then stabbed Rochelle multiple times and slashed her throat. When he was done, he went back to the kitchen where the mother, Patricia, was still tied up alongside her son in chairs and told her that he just violated her daughter and then killed her. Sometime later, Albert Luna Sr. arrived home from work. At gunpoint, Djerf forced Albert Sr. into the master bedroom, placed him face down on the bed, and struck Albert in the back of the head multiple times with an aluminum baseball bat, splattering blood all throughout the room. He then taped Albert's hands and wrists together and left him for dead. Djerf then walked back to the kitchen and told Patricia that he had just killed her husband. And he continued repeating his question to her, "Where is Albert Jr.?" Djerf then tried to kill Damien, right there next to his mother, by turning his neck to snap it, but that didn't work. In the meantime, miraculously, Albert Sr., still in the bedroom, managed to free his hands, got a hold of a pocket knife, and ran into the kitchen where he attacked Richard Djerf, stabbing him several times. But during the struggle, Djerf managed to get his gun out of his holster, pointed at Albert, and shoot him 6 times, killing Albert Sr. Djerf then turned his gun on both Patricia and Damien, shooting them both in the head at close range. In Djerf's mind, it must have been 4 down and 1 to go, the one that he really wanted, Albert Jr. The entire ordeal had lasted more than 6 hours in the Luna home. But now that he was severely injured from knife wounds, it was time to go. So he got a hold of some tanks of gasoline and doused the house and the bodies with gasoline. He turned on 2 kitchen stoves and placed an empty pizza box and some rags on it. He did not light the fire directly to the gasoline because he saw people outside and kids were playing in the street and someone might see him running out of a burning home. He then drove away in the family's car, loaded with all the stolen stuff from the Luna home, and made plans to meet up with his girlfriend later. What he did not know was that a fire never started. The stove idea didn't work. It never reached gasoline around the house, which means that his idea of getting rid of any evidence that he was in the house didn't work. Djerf went back to his apartment and his girlfriend, Emily Boswell, arrived there a short time later. Djerf told Emily that he was attacked by 2 men with knives wanting to rob him and that he needed to get to a hospital to treat his injuries. At the hospital, he told the same story he told his girlfriend. Later, however, Djerf admitted to Emily what really happened, every detail, and he was thrilled about it, saying things to her like, "It was really awesome, and you should have been there." After Djerf was released from the hospital, he also bragged about the crime to several friends, including one in California that Djerf had called on the telephone. Meanwhile, Albert Luna Jr., the young man who Djerf really wanted, had been calling the house from time to time throughout the day, and nobody was answering the telephone. So he drove over there. Some reports say it was later that same night, and other reports say it was the next day. But he discovered his entire family murdered, and he notified police. Police eventually got wind of all the bragging that Richard Djerf was doing, and they executed a search warrant for his apartment. The police found a 9mm Beretta handgun and items from the Luna home: a CD player, 2 VCR units, a telephone caller ID unit, remember those? Several watches, Rochelle's necklace, Patricia's car keys, a telephone, and a book of food stamps. I don't see anywhere in the reports if the Luna family car was ever recovered during the search. I'm guessing Djerf must have abandoned it somewhere. Djerf was indicted on 4 counts of murder, burglary, kidnapping, indecent assault, aggravated assault, attempted arson, theft, and misconduct involving weapons. Misconduct, Arizona calls it. Richard Djerf ultimately came to an agreement with the prosecution that he would plead guilty to the 4 murders if they drop all those other charges. The prosecution agreed to accept Djerf's plea, as that would avoid a trial. Djerf let it be known that his hope was to avoid a death sentence by pleading guilty. However, the judge warned Djerf that he might still be sentenced to death by pleading guilty, and on May 22nd, 1996, almost 3 years after the crime, that is exactly what happened. Strangely, even though Djerf tried hard to avoid the death penalty during those first months that he was in jail awaiting trial, he slit his wrists trying to end his life. Anyway, this year, after 29 years on death row, Richard Djerf is set to be executed in Arizona on October 17th. Albert Beltran Luna Sr. was 46 years old. Albert was born in Arizona, and he was a veteran of the Vietnam War. He was also a member of the American Legion. Albert had been working as a lab technician in Phoenix. Patricia Luna, known mostly as Patsy, was 42 years old. She worked a part-time custodial job at Byron Barry Elementary School. According to co-workers, everyone said that she was an excellent employee and a very special lady. Rochelle Lynn Luna was a senior at Trevor Brown High School in Phoenix. She was on the school's track team. According to the principal of the school, Rochelle was a very popular, gregarious, friendly girl. Rochelle also worked at Smith's Food and Drug Centers, having told her family that she wanted to earn money for college. Damien Luna was described as a friendly, pleasant child. It is so sad that you can count the years that he lived in this world with all fingers of just one hand. Albert Luna Jr., who was Richard Djerf's primary target, the lone survivor of what turned out to be a massacre of his family, still lives in Arizona. According to reports, he has since married, and he has not had any further troubles with the law since the 1993 incident. And to this day, Albert Luna Jr. continues to deny that he ever stole any of Richard Djerf's things. Please remember to hit the subscribe button for more death row and upcoming execution stories so that you're alerted when the next one comes out. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. My name is Paco Rivera. Thank you for watching. Take care, and bye for now.